Hey friends. So I had a pretty, after I finished my post yesterday, I had a pretty swift follow up wave of insight. Um, and, yesterday I talked a little bit about observing my mind and recognizing that what I put in my mind is what is there. One of these sort of incredibly obvious duh moment um, insights, but nevertheless, when that penny drops, it's like it's a cool experience, and it's like this obvious thing is, I understand it now. This thing that my own lips, my own mind that I've been saying um, has taken on a new meaning, has taken on it's like it landed. So anyway, I spoke a little bit about that yesterday, and very quickly out of that grew the insight that if we want to live in a successful way, and by successful I mean, at ease, aligned, a full-fledged life, a full version of ourselves, it's far better to prioritize movement than it is to prioritize clarity. And I am a particular type of person. I really like me some clarity. I love to know I love to have a sense that I know the outcome of what of the action that I'm gonna take. And it's a hard habit to kick. I'm sure it's not unfamiliar to many of us, but once I kind of clocked this insight yesterday about, well, what goes in my mind is what comes out, or what goes in is what's there, and what goes in is what comes out, it was like, oh, well, how could you ever have clarity? It's almost like my mind thinks that it's gonna get the answer and then know how to write the program. But that's not how it works. You put stuff in the mind. It's like running it'd be like having a software program and then getting to the end and running the program, and the program spits out a certain result, and then going to that result and trying to change the result. Well, you've got an entire program. You've written an entire body of code that produces that result. You can't change the result. Going and trying to affect the outcome it's like, on some level, it's kind of like, well, that's what we want to fix. We see an outcome we don't like. I want to fix that. But it's kind of like it takes our focus completely off of the part of the process that's actually where we can make that change. You can't. It's almost, there's a level of kind of myopic. I mean, insanity is harsh, but it's not untrue to think that we can put a bunch of stuff in the mind and run software in a certain way, and then somehow magically get whatever result we want from that. At the end of all that process, just determine what we wish the result would be. It's insane if you think about it. It's intuitive. It's how our mind often engages with the world, but it doesn't actually make any sense if we have clocked that our mind is just running programs. And whatever program we put in is the one that it runs. So this really took me back to another, again, kind of like a insight of privileging movement over clarity, and really deciding to kind of put my focus on running software programs, running experiments with myself, running experiments with my mind. What am I putting in? What comes out? What I put in today, and then because it also lets us relax with regard to, there's a level on which, I'll put a bunch of stuff in my daily software, weekly, monthly, whatever, and then I get a result. But on the way, it's like I put the software in, and then I work really hard to try to make that software get the result that I want, and then it didn't work again. Maybe I didn't work hard enough at running the software. Let's run it again. And I go through the whole stressful, ineffective, frustrating process again, because I'm trying. It's like it's as though I don't know. You're probably tired of the computer analogies, but it's like using a word processing program and expecting it to render musical notation or a piece of art, right? It's like the software is going to do what it's designed to do. It's very, very clear. And because the mind is so vast, we can miss the fact. We can be forgiven for missing the fact that it's just a computer. It is literally just running. It might as well be binary code. Probably a little more sophisticated than that, but not by much. And so the question of what we're putting in, and if the question of what result do we want, is not one that we can answer through clarity. It's one that we can answer through experimentation over and over and over again, and approximating and learning what the processes do, and tinkering with the inputs and tweaking the inputs, and and it's a process that actually excites me when I think about it. I draw inspiration from the fact that that's a playful, inherently active process, whereas finding clarity is inherently passive, because it presumes that there's something that needs to be present, some knowledge, something, before we can play, before we can play in the world, before movement can happen. So yesterday's insight, and then really it was very kind of on the heels of that this other idea came through, this other sense of like, oh, I kind of see what this means. This is I need to run my experiments a little differently. So yeah, that's what has showed up over the past 24 hours. Thanks for watching, folks. Much love. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.